Good morning. Happy Monday morning to everyone again, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers for yesterday. I hope even though you were in lockdown that you still had an amazing Mother's Day and you're still able to be spoilt and celebrate everything that you've done for your families and the community. For today's devotion, to kick things off, I thought we could look at a story about Moses in Exodus 35. And we're specifically looking at verse 29. It says, "When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the two tablets of the covenant law in his hands," that's the Ten Commandments, "he was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord." So Moses spends time with God on Mount Sinai. And when he comes down, his face is literally shining or glowing because he had been spending time with God, speaking to God. And when the Israelites see this, they actually are so afraid that Moses has to cover his face with a veil so that he can talk with them. But the story says that whenever Moses went into the Lord's presence, whether it's in Mount Sinai or in the tabernacle, he would lift the veil, he would uncover his face, and he would speak with God. And when he came out of the Lord's presence, his face would still be shining, and he would cover his face again so not to make everyone afraid around him. Now, my face has never shone or glowed after speaking with God, after spending time with God. But I think this is a wonderful symbol of what happens when we do spend time with God, when we deliberately set a part of our day aside just for Him, and we make an intention just to meet with God, whether it's through prayer, through the Bible, meditation, maybe even just worshiping. There is a part of us that does come away being radiance, that does come away glowing, and that is our spirits. Maybe for you, you will actually physically glow, I don't know. But definitely our spirits will glow. There will be a sense of God's presence with us afterwards. Whenever we meet with God in a way that's humble, in a way that we just want to see Him and speak with Him, we carry His presence with us through everything else that we do. Moses didn't have to try and make his face shine. He didn't have to focus on his face and try think wonderful thoughts to make it shine. It was just a product of what happened when he met with God. The same thing happens with us. When we set aside time aside, to meet with God, we unintentionally carry his presence with us throughout the rest of our day. We don't have to be focused on that. This is why it's so important with Christians to be constantly meeting with God, because we should be carrying his sweet aroma, as Paul would say, around with us through everything we do. And if we're not spending time meeting with him, we don't carry that presence around with us as much as we could. So I invite you to always spend time with God. And can be a lot easier now that we've got so much downtime. Often before the lockdown and after the lockdown, things will get crazy again. We'll have school and work and homework and running businesses and raising families while running businesses again and doing all of these crazy things. And it's often very difficult then to spend quality time with God. So let's take this time that we have now. While for many of us, things are still quiet. I know that for some, life is still hectic and still under huge amounts of pressure in terms of things you need to do. But for those of us who have got a lot of time on our hands, let's spend as much of it as we can, as Moses did, in the presence of God, so that we can carry that presence around with us for everyone else to encounter as well. So that's just what I'm going to be focusing on for this week, is God's presence, God's glowing presence, and that no matter what time I spend with God, it's never wasted. And I pray that you will focus on that as well in your walk this week. Amen.